as the focus and attention of the country was on the National Treasury buildings and the Parliament buildings in Nairobi, where the Cabinet Secretary in charge of finance was presenting and reading the budget for the next financial year, something terrible has just come up and has happened within Makadara Law Courts in Nairobi. A case where a senior police officer has shot and injured a judge during live court proceeding sessions. It is something that has caught many unaware, and of course it is something that is very much unfortunate, of a case involving where those who are supposed to be protecting the judicial officers during these proceedings is the one who turned against the judicial officer. And now let us just go through what has happened and what has exactly transpired within Makadara Law Courts in Nairobi. It is a case of one police officer who has shot and injured a judge. The police officer otherwise has been identified as a chief inspector and an OCS in Londiani and is known as Samson Kipchirchir Kipruto, who is age 55 and has shot the judge who was presiding over the case, Justice Kivuti, over a case where the wife to the OCS was charged over money laundering cases. Today, when she appeared before the justice or the magistrate, the unfortunate unfolded. In the case, the wife is accused of having received 2.9 million Kenya shillings by false pretense. And so this is a matter that has been dragging in and out of the court. And today, when the wife appeared before the court, she appeared while on oxygen support. And after appearing while on oxygen support, it is said that the judge or the magistrate ordered that the bond be cancelled and the wife be detained as the case continues. This is what might have angered the officer, OCS Kipchirchir, to shoot the magistrate. And after shooting the magistrate, the other officers who are manning the courts shot him, neutralizing him instantly or killing him on the spot. So the magistrate has been rushed to a city hospital to receive treatment, while officers from Buruburu DCI police unit process the scene as they conduct investigations and a forensic analysis at the scene of the crime. And according to video footage that we've seen, the anti-terror police officers were also on ground trying to process the scene to rule out possibilities of a possible terror attack. Now, this brings us to some sort of debate and discussion around this. Because one would first question that why would a husband to the accused be allowed within the court proceedings equally armed? This is something that, for common sense, it involved emotions. Whatever the judgment that the magistrate was going to give, it in the long run must have elicited some kind of emotion, whether sad or happy emotions. So it brings us to the question of the debate around gun regulations, and especially within the members of the public and those who are licensed to carry guns. So this case of this police officer, why don't we have similar regulations as is the case within the National Assembly, that you know the moment you enter the chambers, then you're not allowed to arm yourself? Why don't we have such kind of debates and discussions? So, if we could be having this even within our courts, that once a police officer steps within the courtroom, then they are not allowed to be armed, then we would count that the court proceedings or the court sessions would be equally be safe. So, if this was the issue in this case, then we could have prevented this. So as a country, I think that we need to have clear debate and discussions around the gun regulations, and especially on how people should be carrying guns. So you'd even ask yourself that this is an officer attached to Londiani some police post in Londiani, that is kilometers away from Nairobi, almost near Kisumu. Why was he having a gun outside his area of jurisdiction and area of work? And why was he having a gun within a court session where the wife is said to be charged? And maybe just to share with you some screenshot here, the wife to OCS Ruto from Londiani was charged with obtaining 1.9 million shillings by false pretense. She has cancer and has been in court and hospital, hence has not appeared severally in court. She came today while still on oxygen, and the magistrate sent her to be detained until the 27th day of this month and cancelled her bond. That's what angered the husband, who shot her and was equally shot on the spot. The body of the OCS is still in court and the wife as well. The magistrate has been taken to hospital. So, it brings us to another debate, that we seriously need to have a serious discussion and debate on the welfare of our police officers and on their mental health. It is something that is evidently clear that our officers, and especially the members of the police units, are not well mentally, and they are forced to be in the work environment without a serious assessment on their suitability and ability to carry out their assignments and duties in as far as their mental health is concerned. Just the other day, we had reports of a senior NIS figure, Mr. Tom Makadara, who shot himself. And after shooting himself, that is when people were coming up with theories of how he was mentally suffering, especially after being transferred to other departments within his workplace, something that is sort of considered a demotion, and also all family wrangles that were derailing him. So this is something that should be seriously be looked into. And we've said this severally, and even to the ministry concerned, that is the Ministry of Interior and Coordination of Internal Affairs of the government, that the welfare of the police officers is something that is a ticking time bomb in this country. So, if this is the same officer shooting a magistrate within a serious court proceeding session, what would prevent such an officer from taking the law into his hands and just shooting aimlessly at a normal civilian who is not armed or protected? So, this is a serious debate that we need to have. The last time that this debate was on top of news, the response that we got is that even the ministry itself is overwhelmed by this small number of councillors who are able to offer support to these officers. So these are not the kind of responses that we should be getting. It is something that should be taken as a case of a national security threat and be discussed, even if it is so to be discussed in Parliament, so that necessary legal laws are passed in regard to this. So, it brings us to the third point, that there is an issue of even them, the judicial officers, being approached behind the scenes with people who are accused in these cases, being approached even with some money or some kind of favor seeking, such that their bonds can be granted or cancelled in as much as they wish for their favors to be done for them. So, in this case, I tried to read a foul play that maybe this OCS, being a senior figure within the police, might have maybe tried to reach to the magistrate and talk to her, and this might have hit the dead end. And the only way that he saw that it was better for him to respond was by shooting at the magistrate, something that must be called out anyway. So, you even see the wife appeared on an oxygen support machine, though this one could be interpreted in two ways. That this oxygen thing might be for her to seek sympathy from the magistrate, or might be genuine. But that, in Kenya, it can happen. It was just the other time that an ex-officer who was serving with the Kenya Defence Forces appeared before a parliamentary committee appealing for him to be compensated for the injuries that he suffered while on the course of his duty for this great country. And so what surprised me during that hearing is that the officer in question was bedridden and was on a stretcher and on life support and appearing before the committee. That was a public shame. It was a shame of the state for even the members who were seated there listening to this man and listening to the family of this man talk. What I questioned at that particular point, why didn't the members of that particular committee go and pay a visit to the home of this officer? So this still revolves around the welfare of the servicemen and women who offer their gallantry and serviceness in this country. So this is something that seriously needs to be looked into. It is not something that should be taken lightly and will really help us to combat such similar cases in future. Thank you for watching. That marks the end of our analysis. My name is Frank.